You say I make you nervous, a tragedy, I'm a beauty.
BTS news today, July 17th, 2025. Seoul. The summer breeze quietly slipped between the towering buildings of Hanamdong, just as a shocking notification lit up the phones of millions of armies around the world. Jungkook is live now. Read the message on Weverse. In that familiar tone that never fails to make hearts race. There had been no teaser, no announcement, no scheduled appearance. It just happened, like a falling star streaking across the night sky. And what fans witnessed in the next 47 minutes was something they would remember for the rest of their lives. Jungkook stood in the middle of HYBE's empty practice room, lit only by the warm glow of ceiling lights hanging low. There was no music when the camera first turned on, just the sound of his breathing, deep, steady, as if trying to control an emotion not yet fully tamed. His black t-shirt clung to his sweat-drenched body. His long hair, now dyed a darker shade, was tied back loosely, with a few strands falling over his forehead. His gaze was sharp, but behind that sharpness was a gentleness, something unspoken. Then, he looked into the camera and smiled slightly. A smile that wasn't forced, but also not entirely free. "I just want to dance tonight," he said softly, almost like a whisper. And in an instant, the studio lights changed. Music began to play. Not BTS music, not his solo releases. It was a new instrumental, something ARMY had never heard before. A slow tempo, emotionally charged, blending smooth R&B with contemporary rhythms. Jungkook closed his eyes, and his body began to move. His first movement was slow, yet deliberate, expressing grace and power in perfect harmony. He didn't seem to be dancing to the music. It felt like the music was created for the movement of his body. Every step, every spin, every stomp on the wooden floor told a story. This wasn't just a dance. It was an expression. There was sadness. There was longing. There was a softened anger. But there was also freedom, as if he was releasing something he had been holding in for far too long. And ARMY could feel it, across screens, across oceans, that this was the most personal dance Jungkook had ever performed. Not a single word was spoken while he danced. Only the sound of his breath echoed now and then, revealing the weight in his chest that couldn't be unraveled with ordinary words. Some armies started crying, not out of sadness, but because they knew this was rare. This was a moment where an idol, usually seen smiling under stage lights, chose to open himself, fully, through a language more honest than lyrics or interviews. Then the music stopped. Jungkook stopped too. He stood still in the center of the room, breathless, chest heaving. Several seconds passed in silence, and only then did he speak. "I dreamed of this dance 3 nights in a row," he said quietly, staring at the floor before lifting his eyes again to the camera. "And in the dream, I was always crying. But I didn't know why." His deep voice trembled slightly, but he didn't cry. He remained calm, yet there was a storm in his eyes. "I think my body is trying to say something that my mouth can't." Thousands of comments flooded the live chat. "We're here for you, Jungkook. Take your time. This is your safe space." But Jungkook no longer read the comments. He seemed to be in another space, alone, yet surrounded by invisible love. And then, unexpectedly, he pressed the play button again. This time, the music was different, more intense, louder, with a heavy bass beat. But Jungkook's movements remained fluid. He danced with rage, but not rage at the world. It was rage at the pressure he had swallowed for years. Expectations, standards, demands. All of it poured out in every sway of his hips, every stomp of his heels, every breath that sounded like a scream held in silence. When he stopped again, he said nothing, just stood there, facing the camera, and smiled, slightly, the same way he did at the beginning. Then he bowed deeply, for nearly 10 seconds. When he rose, his eyes looked a bit red. "I want to live like this," he said softly, "as I am. Truthfully, through my body, through my music, through this dance." And with that, he pressed end live. Weverse instantly descended into chaos. Thousands of armies wrote that they were crying. Major fan bases on Twitter began uploading clips of Jungkook's movements recorded from their screens. The hashtag Jungkook Dance Healing trended globally in just 12 minutes. But beyond virality, this moment became something deeper, a reminder that behind his global idol status, Jungkook is an artist trying to express his deepest self through his body. The next morning, Korean media was flooded with headlines. Jungkook goes live unannounced, emotional. Dance shakes army. Jungkook dances, the world goes silent. Even a renowned international choreographer, known for working with Grammy-winning artists, posted a clip of Jungkook's dance on Instagram with the caption, "This is not K-pop. This is Seoul." HYB had not released an official statement. Even internal staff seemed surprised to find that the practice studio had been used all night. Some witnesses claimed the studio lights only turned off around 3:00 a.m. No one knows whether Jungkook slept afterward, or if he sat there for hours, silently staring at his reflection in the mirror. But one thing is clear. The dance wasn't just a performance, that it was a confession. And perhaps, it was the beginning of something bigger. Jungkook hasn't appeared again. Since that night, that no Instagram stories, no selfies on Wafers Eat, no TikToks, as if all his energy had been poured into that dance, and all that remained was silence. But the silence didn't last long. The next morning, around 10:35 a.m. Korea Standard Time, Jimin was seen leaving the Hanamdong apartment with a tense expression. Reporters stationed near HYB said they saw him speaking quickly on the phone, his face pale with concern. Soon after, Taeyong followed. Meanwhile, Namjoon, usually calm, refused to answer any questions for the first time. He simply said, "If you really care about him, give him space." The only one who gave the public a signal was Yoongi. On his Instagram, he posted a dimly lit photo of the studio lights with a short caption, "There's truth in silence." The post was instantly flooded with comments from ARMYs saying they still had chills from last night's live. Online, Jungkook's dance had become the subject of in-depth analysis. Some broke down his movements like professional dance critics. Others posted long threads on Twitter, interpreting the choreography as a reflection of trauma, mental pressure, even hidden wounds. One fan from Italy wrote, "It's as if he's not only dancing for himself, but also for every person who ever had to pretend they're okay." Amid the noise, a short video emerged, recorded by a new HYB trainee. Capturing a faint voice from the studio hallway the night before. In the recording, Jungkook could be heard speaking to himself, softly, almost inaudibly, as if conversing with his own shadow. "I don't even know if I'm still me." That line echoed in the minds of millions of ARMYs. Who is Jungkook now? Is he still the same boy who debuted at 15? Or has the world changed him too much? Meanwhile, on the 7th floor of the HYB building, a closed-door meeting was taking place. Inside the room were three key people: BTS's main manager, HYB's creative director, and, unusually, an expressive therapist flown in from abroad. On the table lay printouts of Jungkook's dance in the form of choreographic diagrams. They analyzed them one by one. Not for commercial use, not for a concert, but to understand something deeper. Jungkook's mental state. "He's calling out to something," the therapist said softly, pointing to the repetitive foot stomping at the end of the first segment. "Calling out to what?" asked the director. "Not what, but who." That evening, Jimin finally appeared on Wafers. He didn't write much, just a single line, in Korean. "I saw him in silence. And I know, it wasn't just a dance." ARMY immediately picked up on the subtle signal. Some were convinced Jimin had known, long before the live, that Jungkook would dance like that. Theories spread quickly. Some believed it was all part of a secret solo comeback plan, but others sensed this wasn't about a comeback, that it was deeper, more human. Longtime fans remembered how Jungkook used to dance alone in the studio late at night when he was stressed. One veteran fan wrote, "Change my way